Good morning, Alaska. Welcome back to another riveting show of the AK Den. I am your host, Lee Butterfield. It is the, I believe, 27th. Is it the 27th? I think it's the 27th of January, which is a pretty awesome day when you really think about it because it's after the 26th and before the 28th, which makes it really important because, why was 6 afraid of 7? Well, because 7, 8, 9, right? And so we're going to kick it over into, I know I got some people that like that. We're going to kick it over to the crew today. Welcome back, crew. Sorry you got to see me, everybody, but we had some stuff happening with the technical side of the world, so I jumped in. And because, selfishly, I needed some attention, and it was been too long. It's been like 2 weeks since the world saw this mug. And so I'm going to jump in and take advantage of the fact that a deep part of me craves the attention of all 7 people that are watching out there. So welcome back, everybody. It's good to see you. It's happy to see you. Hey, Ben, I'm going to have you take on some links today, if that would be all right, some moderation links. And we're kicking it, and we're going to open up today with a big question for everybody out there, specifically to you guys down in the crew. I had this epiphany waking up this morning that, one of the things that has been changed so much since I was your age or a little bit younger is that teenagers have been able to now kind of project to the world an image of who they are themselves in a more easy manner. So I thought about the fact that when I was just a little bit younger than you, we got this blessing called the internet, right? In all these different homes that made it available, and we had these discussion boards and chat rooms, and I am so proud of the fact that my generation was the first generation to be able to lie about how old they were on the internet. And that's pretty exciting, right? And not only that, but we were lying to act like we were older in a place where it really didn't matter. And so I got to thinking about it a little bit, and then I'm wondering, you guys have grown up in an era where you can lie about your age on the internet and really project and create this image of yourselves that the rest of the world interacts with in social media and online and websites and things like that and videos and things like that. So my question is, because of that, the difference is that when I was a kid, I didn't really have anything to counter the narrative of big film and big TV on what it meant to be a teenager and what that image that was projected out to the world was. So I'm curious, now that you guys have had this ability your whole lives to really show you how you want to show you and present yourself how you want to present yourself at a bigger medium, how do you feel about how film and TV presents teenagers? I just never really thought about it till this morning. So I'm curious, do you guys have examples or any information whatsoever about good ones or bad ones that you look at and you're like, well, that's, here's the TV. These are how teenagers are. Are there anything that make you go, bleh? How's it going?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind for me is High School Musical, because I feel like in those movies, well, I think there's a show coming out now. They're just like, oh yeah, the high school's great. There's so much good stuff, which is true. There's a lot of good stuff in high school, but there's also not a lot of fun stuff. They don't really share that side, like homework and work.
So, and I can see where High School Musical is probably focused on the social side and the social side of high school. And don't they sometimes deal with some decent social conundrums that they have to work through together? I've never seen them, but I'm assuming they do because that's the whole Saved by the Bell mantra. Does any of that take place in those, or is it just singing on tabletops the whole time? Is it just happy all the time and singing on tabletops?
It's good. It's good. It's not accurate, but it's good.
Okay, so how is it not accurate? I mean, beyond the whole, flash mob singing every 20 seconds.
It kind of treats sports teams and musical theater like cults that you can't really mix. But from what I've seen, you can mix those things.
So you can both hold Cthulhu up and as well as be worshiping a small Smurf.
Sure.
That's fantastic. I mean, if we got to pick deities for those cults, let's pick them, right? And so, so High School Musical, that's one. And has anyone ever actually tried to start singing randomly in class or during lunch and really get disappointed? Oh, wow. You guys, chickens. So what other depictions of teenagers have you guys seen? So one that was big when I was a kid was again, Saved by the Bell, right? And it was just this idea that everyone had the best clothing on the planet, and it just did not fit. I looked in my closet looking for my wonderful, shoulder padded suit jackets that I was going to wear to high school, and all I saw were a bunch of old Wyoming shirts with a bear. or wolf? Nothing. You guys got nothing. You must be too early. Anyone else have anything that they've seen depicting teenagers that just makes you go, huh?
Well, a lot of times. Oh, sorry.
No, go, Ben. You're fine.
A lot of times I've noticed that they cast like 20 or 30-year-olds as high schoolers in movies. Like pretty much every movie kind of does it. It's a little funny.
How does that do for body image? Just curious. Like, because I'm sorry, let's be frank. Teenagers are usually gangly, all arms and legs, tripping over everything that gets in their way, right? Like, it's kind of a time in your life where your brain hasn't caught up with how long all of your limbs have gotten, right? So and then we get like guys with like 17 six-packs built into every arm, and it's like, it's kind of a lot to live up to, isn't it?
Yeah, Outer Banks is really bad about that. Like they say they're like 16 years old, but all the actors are like 23.
Although I do know some 23-year-olds I think you guys are smarter than, and probably a little more mature than, to be completely honest. What about you, Bria? I can see that brain bubbling. Like you've been thinking since I asked this question.
Oh, I mean, I was just going on like the funnier side, but if you go back to Hannah Montana, she got into Stanford and she didn't take any tests and she never went to school. So I feel like they really screwed us up in that part. Because I grew up thinking like, I can go to Yale, I can go to Harvard, and now I'm like, I can't do this. How did they do this?
Lots and lots of money. I think that's probably helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you saying Hannah Montana bribed her way into Stanford?
I'm saying the college process for TV stars was a lot easier, and it gave me false hope.
And to be clear out there in the wide world, we are talking about the college process for fictional characters. Fictional characters, not the TV stars themselves. They weren't TV stars, their parents were, and they went to jail. All right, so we're back in it. So I'm curious. We're going to move on from that. That was a good one, wasn't it? Everyone just slid that right in there. We got to, All right, so we're going to kick it over. Dr. Johnson, welcome back. Glad to have you on the Den. We're wondering what's happened in the state of education in the state of Alaska.
Well, I'll start by saying, based on that whole conversation that just happened, if people want to know about teenagers, they should just watch The Den every week, and then they'll be up to speed and understand teenagers. So I'll just put that plug in. Updates, I don't have a lot this week. I think you all probably know what I know about school getting back in and that sort of thing around the state. That's good news. For me, it's the legislative session is happening, so that has consumed a lot of the week. We had a State Board of Education meeting yesterday. They adopted early learning standards. Hopefully, that's another step toward, a good focus on reading, especially in the early grades. On Friday, we have a Senate Education Committee hearing where I'm supposed to give basically an overview of the department and public education in the state, and I'll be doing that on Friday, so spending time getting ready for that, putting together slideshows and that sort of thing. The House still hasn't organized, so don't know anything about a committee there yet.
Well, that's still busy, and let us know how we can help, because I'm sure there's all kinds of Den crew here that would love to be involved in putting together slideshows. That's exciting, exciting stuff. Kicking over to you, El Presidente, Mr. Tom Claymire, welcome back to the Den. What does it look like from your view on what's happening in Alaska for teachers and educators?
Good morning. I like following the commissioner always because he covers everything so well. I don't get put on the spot. Yeah, it seems like we're in a little bit of a holding pattern. The House hasn't organized. There's a little bit of or at least it feels like educators a lull in vaccinations right now. We're waiting as a state for the February allocation. Educators that are over 65 can get their vaccines, but the bulk of educators have to wait until the next tier is announced, and the state doesn't know what their allocation is going to be. There's been some murmurings of changing the allocation, but I don't know where that came from. Maybe just the desire for that to happen, but I don't know that significant changes are going to be made. We're just hoping for more vaccines. A couple more have been approved, and so they're waiting for those to help be distributed. And the faster we vaccinate everybody, the faster we can get back to school safely. But again, kind of in a holding pattern. The CARES money that was allocated for schools that I think we mentioned last week, about $140 million for the state, still kind of waiting for that to pan out and hear how districts plan to use it. So just waiting and watching and hopeful.
That's fantastic. So you bring something up, and I was listening. I wasn't just nodding because I like the look of the glare off the top of my head as it hits the light. But you do bring up an interesting statement that I want to ask a follow-up question on. And this is really directed to both of you, if I could, is how many teachers are we looking at that are over 65 in the state of Alaska? I mean, is it a small percentage, a large percentage? Where does that sit?
What have we got? 8,000 or 9,000 teachers, and my guess is somewhere, and we don't have hard data on it, but just anecdotally, I'll bet 10% or so of those, maybe a little bit higher, are over 65, which is a significant number, especially when we start talking about people retiring at some point. Yeah.
For everyone else in the room, let's ask that question. Like, how old does someone have to be before they can collect their Social Security if that were a situation that they were a part of?
Well, interestingly, if they've taught their whole career in Alaska, they don't get Social Security.
Right. No, I understand that. But what is that normal age that people start collecting, and is usually like that kind of time when people start to retire, and that's their Medicare and things like that?
Typically it's 65, but as we move forward, it moves up. There's kind of a sliding scale because people are living longer. They're moving it back. So I think by the time you and I retire, if we were to be eligible, I think we'd have to wait till 67. And of course, there's options to get less and start collecting early, but
that's definitely a transitional age frame, right? Where a lot of people are moving into that time in their life where it's walking away from the kind of working world and moving into that retirement phase of their existence. That's definitely like that big point to start paying attention to, right?
Yeah, most financial planners still use 65 as a target date for retirement. And then, when you get to that point, if you're still enjoying working, a lot of people continue. Or if you can't financially afford to retire yet and you're healthy enough, you continue working. But yeah, I'd say that's still kind of universally used as sort of the target age for retirement. And then you adjust forward or back. Some people are able to afford to retire earlier than that.
And so, Commissioner, and I don't know, this may not totally be within the purview of where you're at, but you'd have an idea of maybe some of the struggles being a superintendent at times and those kinds of areas. Is there like an encroaching kind of like tension thinking about 10% of your workforce, in a sense, being ready to just poof off in a way?
Well, I think that's true all the time, not during just COVID, is you always have to think about developing, a new generation of workforce, whatever industry you're in, whether it's, education or whatever. But absolutely, that's an issue. What compounds it in Alaska, though, is that we have a higher turnover than average. So if you take, the country or the state and you say on any organization, what's the average turnover rate of your employees? Like how many of your employees leave in a given year? How many new employees? In education, it's much higher than average, especially in rural areas. And so that's a challenge for our state. This year, we're going to have a number of superintendents retiring and leaving. We always have a lot of teachers doing that. And so they talk about the pipeline, developing, a pipeline of new teachers that want to go into the field. And that's true of any industry, but we have to develop it. But I'll say, just as a plug, for those that may be thinking about a career in education, it's an exciting time because it's going to go through so much change in the next number of years. We've had the same model for decades and decades. COVID has introduced the opportunity to experiment with some other kinds of methods. As you know, Mr. Butterfield, we're extending the Canvas contract a couple of years so we can continue with that project and see how that can work in school and out of school. So it's an exciting time, and I hope lots of people will see education as a potential for a career.
Fantastic. All y'all listening right there. There you go. Think about it. That's good stuff to think about. Thank you very much. We really appreciate all of that information. We are going to kick it over and talk about a couple of things that are happening around the local area, and then we're going to wrap it up because I know Dr. Allman has meetings, Dr. Johnson has meetings, El Presidente has meetings. All y'all around here have beds to get back to. I understand you. We're okay. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit about what's going on this weekend. So South Student Government is actually hosting movies this weekend and next weekend for fundraisers for things like prom and well, dances and incredible celebratory moments that can take place when we're allowed to have them take place. They cost money. So they're running some movies. Anyone in there got a good beat on what's showing this weekend? They talk through us? I mean, I do. I can jump in there and do that. And as I do that, we're going to get some data coming in there. So we do have movies this weekend. Friday on the 29th, just after Dr. Johnson has been talking to all kinds of people about the state of education in the state of Alaska, he could, get on a plane, get over here, rent a car, pay $25, go to the parking lot at South Anchorage High School and watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off and really, really enjoy it because it's going to be earned when that Ferrari just gonna feel good right at that moment. And then you can stick around because Saturday the 30th, that's this Saturday at 6 p.m. we have Blades of Glory, which is a fantastic film everyone should see before they die. And then at 9 o'clock, Hot Rod, which is another amazing film that everyone should check out. In fact, Hot Rod might be the film responsible for one of the greatest directors of our future. Just as a heads up, I just want to give all of you that out there. A former member of this program, that was the film that made him start making film. And I guarantee that his name will be on a screen as a director before I die. If I have to pay for the film, it will be. Then next weekend, Friday, February 5th, we have Bedtime Stories and The Waterboy following it. And then Saturday the 6th, we have Grown Ups and Happy Gilmore following that. So next weekend's an Adam Sandler weekend. It seems like people need some humor in their lives. We're in the third quarter stretch. It starts to feel really long. Everyone can get out there, see some good, funny movies, and do all of that. Remember, if you have questions for the show, you can put those questions at asktheden.org. And you can always be here to watch at thedenak.org. And then current vaccination eligibility information is being put into the chat right now in the link. So you can pop that link open and take a look at that if you want to see kind of where things are at. Thank you, crew. Thank you, guests. We always enjoy having you here. You give us so much to learn from, so much to think about, and we really appreciate all of it. Thank you, everybody. And thank you out there. It was good to see everybody again. It's been a long time since you got to see this mug, and I bet you felt better for it. But hey, this was my opportunity to say hello to all you. Missed y'all. Good to see ya. Hope things are rocking and rolling in your world. Tune in next week when you're going to see a much more amazing crew running this show. See you next time.